Monkey see, monkey do. Whose monkey is it? Well, this monkey around, because today is all about accessibility. But does the monkey jump through the hoops? Does the monkey win? I mean, who wins at the end of the day? Hmm. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning into PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frayne. I'm the host. And well, as usual, please like and subscribe and share the content. It helps our channel grow and bigger and bigger and bigger. The bigger it gets, the bigger the prize gets for you. Yeah, because the prize will be at, well, who knows when that will be, because they're going to be doing some special presentations in the future, but to help the channel grow in the meantime, because that helps us create more content and keep you entertained with, well, extra value added shows. Breaking with Brent, Coffee Time, haven't done that in quite a while, but travel segments, that's kind of put on the back burner for now. Due to economic situations, but when that time comes, I'll be doing some of those in the future. But with that being said, today we're going to be talking about the unseen accessibility. Ah, yes, unseen accessibility
Well,
wins.
I also wanted to kind of say it's not just unseen, but maybe underappreciated as well.
Underappreciated, unseen and
Yeah,
underappreciated. And
yeah.
yeah, there's definitely lots to talk about accessibility. I mean, we're not pros about all about accessibility, and I don't want to come across as saying I know everything because I don't know everything. I learn from other people, and
Mhm.
I learn from lived experience, scenarios, and talking with people too. In the community. Either getting on a bus, getting off a bus, seeing about the barriers that people have to go through. They rely on the public transportation, and
Yeah,
so what we're going to dive into is pulling up to the curbs. I mean, bus drivers they pull up on an angle sometimes, and
yeah,
they'll pull up and then the back door. Well, there's a big giant gap way off there. Well, no, I need to go off the front door, but then
yeah,
they don't put the ramp down. So now
yeah.
really watch your footing. Like, I mean, it could be
No,
one mil.
that's good. I wanted to start with the buses. I
Yeah.
just wanted to before we get into it, Dan's in chat and he says if the boys reach 100 new subs today, Brent will twerk. So you're gonna twerk if we get 100 new subs.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, let's start with the buses.
yeah.
Um, because like when you and I were discussing the show idea the other day, I literally told you, and this is not a joke. This is
Hmm.
not a joke. This is legit. Is that you know, even if the bus misses the curb by like millimeters, it could be like
Hmm.
1 or 2 millimeters, not a joke.
Hmm.
That could be enough for me to not get off the bus properly and maybe fall.
Hmm.
And
Oh, very easy.
it sounds stupid, but you're talking millimeters or like a quarter inch
Oh.
difference. And sometimes I remember like I don't really ride the bus much anymore, but when I used to ride it all the time, you would feel stupid telling the bus driver, "Can you please move ahead just even like a quarter inch or half inch?" And he's like, "What?" And
Hmm.
but it's stupid, but it makes such a huge difference. Like that little quarter inch feels
Oh, yes.
literally like the Grand Canyon when
Oh,
you
it,
have
it
a
does.
disability.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does. I mean, they got these bars when the bus driver opens up their front door of the bus. You got these bars, and people kind of following what I'm saying is that you got them bars that you can grab onto, right? Sure, you can pull
Mhm.
yourself up, but getting off the bus, if the bus driver hasn't pulled up to that 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters closer to that curb,
Mhm.
there's a gap in there. I mean, you could lose your footing down, your foot could go down, and then you could hit that gap and then do a face plant right onto the sidewalk and go
Yeah.
flying across.
Yeah.
And if you're carrying groceries, like bags of groceries or anything, if you have a walker and you're trying to get off, if they don't put the ramp down, that's a
Yeah.
huge accessibility issue and a liability issue too. I
But
mean,
that's where I want to stay mostly positive today.
yeah.
And that's where I want to could compare like because you and I are old enough like we grew up in the 60s, 70s, right? And back in the day, like buses, like I remember on crutches going up buses that didn't kneel down,
Yeah,
that had no ramp coming down.
they had
Uh,
stairs.
do you remember? Do you remember the old the first times they had the ramps that were the stairs would actually
Yep,
move
yep,
first,
yep.
and those would break down, and then
Oh yes.
and then the bus would be stuck. But I mean,
Mhm.
I remember back in the day when there wasn't even those. And that first step to get up on that bus,
Mhm.
it felt
It
like
felt
it
like
felt like
a mountain
oh
climbing up
yeah.
a mountain.
And I would literally like this is before I was a Christian. I would literally have a little prayer
Mhm.
like seriously, I
Yeah.
do this is a little prayer before I got to boost myself. Like I have to psych myself up to get up that first step, and then to get off too. I felt like I was taking my life in my hands, honestly, taking my
Hmm.
life in my hands to like you know how they have those gymnasts like you have the you have those high bar routines
Yeah.
and stuff like that
Yeah.
or that horse, those little what do you call it? Those long horse ones or the when we're on and they're doing that
Oh yeah. I
dismount
know.
where they have to do the dismount thing.
Do
And
some gymnastics there.
I felt like I was having to do that to get
Oh
off
yeah.
the bus. And it's like you literally feel like you're taking your life in your hands like back in the day.
Oh,
And
I know.
and now they have these nice ramps, and then if like they're powered, but then if the power doesn't work, they're still easy to manually put down, so it doesn't actually take the whole bus out of commission now.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I
uh,
try to climb up those with a suitcase, and if you lose your footsteps, I mean, oh my gosh, you just say do a face plant. But at least if you land on top of that suitcase, at least it takes that cushion off. Give yourself a black and blue face or something. I mean, imagine,
yeah,
right? Hey, what happened to you? Hey, you got punched out? No, that suitcase, the floor got me.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that happen. Well, once I tripped and I kind of slipped, but I got my balance where I grabbed onto this bar. It was just an
Mhm.
accident. I mean, wasn't really the bus driver's fault. It was I got distracted, but I got distracted because the way that it wasn't color coded. It was like faded out where the company hadn't painted the strips on there, and
Mhm.
I don't know, for some reason I don't know what happened. It happened so fast, but bus driver realized, okay, they were going in for repainting and stuff, and it was not really even with the steps on the one step that was on the highest part, and those were
Mhm.
the old buses. I mean, these were buses that were I call them like fish what do they call it, like bull, like they were kind of
Yeah,
like bulls,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that. Yeah,
those were neat buses though.
they
I did,
were neat buses. Yeah,
and they lasted for, I mean, many years. I
yeah,
think they were built better than the new ones now, actually.
yeah.
Yeah. But
But
getting to about the accessibility part, I think that it's trial by error. It's like saying, well, we must do better, definitely of modernizing these buses and
mhm.
accessibility wise. And they've come a long way. The bus companies have come a long way.
Yeah.
There's different modes of them. I like the articulated buses because you can actually park. Like I've seen people parking like scooters and other mobility aids that will help them navigate through the bus, and they're like quite wide.
Well,
But
the other thing I was going to say about buses before we leave with
yeah,
buses is where they have used to have to always have remember they had the tie downs or the seat belts
yeah,
on the wheelchairs, and they still have those, I think, but
yeah, they do.
what they have now is even cooler and easier is that they have those little pockets, like they have
Yeah,
that backrest, right, where
yeah.
you can have a little
You can.
pocket on the front of the bus where you can put in a chair or a wheelchair or a scooter, and you
Yeah,
just back in on that little pocket, and you're
yeah,
totally secure, and you don't need to have to do any tie downs or anything. You just need to
yeah,
put your brakes on, and you're good to go.
yeah.
And
It's like a big giant seat that's
it's
kind
just
of
like a
like big.
big giant seat with a backrest on it, and it's like a little pocket on the front of the where you're kind of got bars, so you're totally like lodged in there, like nice and safe,
Yeah.
right?
Well, what happened to me was like when I was climbing up. I had a really bad allergy season that year, and it was so bad that my eyes were blurry, and it was just so much allergy, and it threw my perception off. So it was like you live and learn when it came to that. But when I observed about accessibility wise of looking into the then and now into the future of how things have changed, and you're right, like on parking like scooters or walkers or anyone who has, let's say, a grocery cart, you can actually park them in there too.
Mhm.
Those old buses, you couldn't do that. Like
Yeah.
there was just no seating extra for them. So I think transit's really come a long way, and in British Columbia, but also I've noticed that back in Toronto when we were out there last year. Like wow, like
Yeah.
the buses are built the same as they are here, and it's like it's awesome to to Toronto for that. I find that their accessibility is really like for getting on and off buses, and their um, and of course Dan would know. I mean, your red trains that's right on the
Yeah.
ground level there. Those were so cool. I know that was one of our bucket lists. I'm glad that we were able to do that last time we were there. Really enjoyed that. Looking forward to doing that again.
But
Yeah,
but I don't know about you, Brent, but I just wanted to make the comment too, like especially when I was younger, and they had those big buses, like I said, where they had to move the whole stairs out of
yeah,
the way, you know?
yeah.
And I always didn't want to, when those were a thing, I didn't want to suggest that because I thought to myself, like, the fact it took so long to move those frickin' stairs,
Oh, I know.
to get them out and then back in again. I'm going, I don't want to be inconvenience for the rest of the passengers. Like I'm a person with a disability, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it annoys me as the person that actually needs the assistance. It annoys the shit out of me. So
Hmm.
if it's already annoying me, I don't want to annoy anybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would at that time, I would just say I can get up that huge first stair. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
And I'll take my life in my hands to get off the bus too. Cause yeah, those first ones that they had the stairs moving in
Oh,
and
it's a
out.
doozy. Oh, it's a doozy.
It was like it felt like 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, no, I know it wasn't that, but it did.
Seems that way.
It felt like that when you were like, I'm going, shit, I don't want to do that.
Like trying to climb those climbing rocks. You know, you're rock climbing. That's what it felt.
Yeah.
It's like when you're on a curb, like so you're on a sidewalk, you know, near the curb, and it's like these stairs are actually elevated higher. So now you're having to grab onto these bars and kind of hoist
Yeah.
yourself up and
Yeah.
up. It seemed like
Yeah.
that I kept having to do that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it seemed like such a challenge, and I thought, wow, what if somebody had a walker, or they were walking with a cane? I mean, trying to get onto these stairs and pull themselves up.
Well, that's
Uh,
what I meant. Like that's what it literally felt like you were being a gymnast
yeah,
and
yeah.
having to practice your dismount and getting off the bus, especially. Like and if it was like really snowy, like really slippery outside too, it's like,
Oh,
holy
yeah.
shit, like am I gonna take a tumble? It's like and so
Oh,
that's what I mean. You'd say this little prayer and you were getting off the bus. It's like, yes, and I made it, you know? But
yeah.
anyway, we
It's
can
like getting onto like these charter buses too,
Mhm.
like commuter buses. I remember the old Greyhound, you know, the same thing, like these stairs, and then you would have to literally they put like a pedestal down there, and then you would just kind of get onto that little pedestal, and then you could get up, and they do that on the trains too. They put
Mhm.
this little pedestal down, and then you stand on it, and if it's not uneven though, there's the problem. If it's uneven, and then you're worried, oh God, I don't want to fall. And we had that happen when we were on the Via Rail because there was some stops where it wasn't a designated stop. It was we were ahead of time, and they said, okay, well, we're going to stop here for 15 minutes. So everyone can, if you want, you can get out and stretch your legs, go for a little walk up and down the gravel area, but don't go too far. And when we say all aboard, we want everybody back on. So they put this little pedestal down. You could see that it was a little bit uneven, nothing major,
Mhm.
and I got off, and Sonia looked, and I don't know if I want to get off, and she says, "Oh no, it's okay. I'm right here. I can like," and I must give credit to Via Rail. Like
Right.
they don't worry, ma'am, you won't fall. I've got you.
Mhm.
Like then Sonia
That's
grabbed
good.
onto her
That's
arm
good.
and she says, "I've got you." Like because they're trained to for that too, right? For
Hmm.
accessibility wise. So they grabbed. So she Sonia grabbed onto her arm and she grabbed onto her other arm and then she got her down and I got down and they helped me down too. And I said,
Hmm.
I think I got this. Like it's okay, sir. Like it's fine. So they made sure that I didn't slip and fall. And I mean, it was nice. It was really because when you're like when you're traveling, if you get that opportunity of getting a fresh air break, you want to take it right when you can. And there was one stop we got to, and it was pouring out. Sonia, I'm not going out in that, but I was the brave one. I stepped down on that pedestal, and I thought, okay, it's pouring. No, I'm going back in. But then
Hmm.
they had the handles, so I stepped on this handle, but there was no attendant there. She was further down the platform, so I thought, no, I'm going back in. So I grabbed my hands on the bars and I got up to the top stairs. I kind of pulled myself up and off I went. But
Yeah.
I looked at that as an accessibility issue for what if
Yeah.
somebody was in had crutches. I thought, wow, how are they going to be getting to get up and down? If it was on a platform that was actually even with it, then no problem. Like it would have been
Hmm.
it would have worked out well. But yeah, I mean, I look at
You
ways that
know, you know
those
when I was going to college and university and that, like UBC, I'm sure they've added a lot more elevators and ramps and stuff since I went there because I went there. It
mm,
was back in I graduated there in 94, so I think I started there in 1989,
mm,
and so there were a few elevators in the campus, but not very many. So
yeah,
mostly I was doing stairs a lot. And I mean, back then I could still do it, but I mean, it was a lot of work uh, to do that. And I just kind of wanted to stay with ramps for a bit. Like,
yeah, yeah,
and again, I mean, it seems like we're talking about obvious things, but again, I wanted to kind of talk about kind of the unappreciated things because I think
mm,
people see a ramp and they say, well, oh well, it's just a ramp, but
mm,
you have to understand, like, especially now that I don't have crutches, like whenever there's stairs, if I'm in a wheelchair or a scooter, if there's even just one stair, I'm
mhm,
screwed. I cannot get into that building. If there's a little stair or anything, like even just a half stair.
mhm.
There's no way I can access it.
Oh,
Not,
absolutely.
it's not even a question.
Like I'll give you an example of stairs. Anyone that's familiar, if you live in British Columbia, in the south coast of British Columbia, that is, because yeah, like I say, British Columbia. Well, British Columbia is it's like Ontario. It's very widespread, right? You got Northern
Hmm.
Ontario, so to be specific, on the south coast of British Columbia, on the west coast, south coast. Um, so if you're in that area, if you're in New Westminster, I'll give you an example. You got Douglas College there. They
Oh,
got all these stairs, and
oh,
I used to have to go there 5 days a week,
yeah,
and I get off the SkyTrain, walk up that
yeah,
hill, and then once you get the hill, you're like, whew. And now you look and you go, oh my gosh, now you got all these stairs to get into the
yeah.
college.
Well,
Oh
well,
wow,
I'll tell you what, Brent. I'll tell you
yeah,
what. I'm glad you're mentioning that because you know what?
yeah,
Like when I was planning to go to college, I went around and looked at all the colleges and I remember my parents would drive me around to the different ones and we did a tour of of the New West campus, like you said. And
mm-hmm.
I took one look at that campus and that big hill and all the
Oh,
stairs, and
oh,
I'm
yeah,
going, there is no way. Like even back in the day, like I said, I could do stairs, but not that many and not
oh
that
yeah,
hill. I'm going. So right off the bat, I checked that off my list to go. I'm not going there. Like I
mm-hmm.
took that off the list, and I ended up going to Langara College. It was way in Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a lot more inconvenient, like location wise.
Yeah.
But it was mostly flat. Like there was no stairs there.
Well, with that college, in order to get in there that way is to get around that situation, you'd have to go up, and then if you want to avoid the stairs, or you couldn't do the stairs, should we say?
Mm,
Some people could do the stairs, but then if you have a mobility device, or you got a cane or a walker, you a walker is out of the question, but cane or
mm,
a crutches trying to get up those stairs. I had one of my actually two of my classmates that had to do the stairs, and one had sprained her ankle, and so she had crutches trying to get up there, and she was so fatigued. She actually had to
mm.
get some help, and she said, "No, no." She was so stubborn. She says, "No, I'm doing this myself because I can do. I just need that extra tool to help me get up there." And in the college, she kept grumbling at them, "You're not giving me the tool," meaning make it more accessible. And so she got the crutches up there, and she's like, "Oh, I can't do it." So somebody came along, and one of the staff at the college came by. One of the instructors came by. They literally picked her up, and she said she was mad. She was, "I want to do this myself," and I witnessed that, thinking, mm-hmm. But they wanted to help her to get her up there. But anyway, my point is, they recommended to her. They didn't. They said it was architectural design way back when the college was built.
Yeah,
I guess they didn't foresee looking forward. But one of the
yeah.
solutions was is that
People with disabilities don't need an extra education.
no, no. But one of their solutions was, and I found that solution out was you go up the hill up to Royal. I think it's Royal Avenue actually, and so
Mhm.
you walk along Royal Avenue, you go all the way down to Eighth, is it Eighth? Yeah, Eighth Street, and then you go down the road, and now it's accessible. So you got a flat platform. You can, and I've seen people on
Mhm.
wheelchairs and scooters coming in that way, and the
Yeah,
doors right there. But why couldn't they do it on the other side, right? To get them
yeah,
all the way around. If people don't know that, I
yeah.
mean, I that's one of the obstacles I found with that college. I love the instructors. I love the curriculum. My different modules that I had to do there. I mean, I took some courses there different over different times. But that was the one that one of the things where I thought, oh my gosh, I got to do this hill again. Boy, I got my exercise in. I mean, work off my lunch big time there,
Yeah.
or breakfast. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I found VCC in Vancouver. They were really accessible. They
That was a good one.
yeah,
That
they
is a
have
good
ramps
college
going
there.
up and
Yeah,
down too. And I mean,
yeah.
if you want to do stairs, stairs are there as an option if you could do
Mm.
stairs. If not, they had a little pathway right down there, right near the library. So you'd come in there and you could actually go right down onto the main area there, common
Yeah.
area. Uh,
Concourse or something. Yeah.
yeah, they have a wonderful library in there, and yeah, everything was accessible. I never had any problems there. I
Yeah.
never did go into Langara. I was one of my courses was
Mangaro was really good. It was mostly flat,
yeah,
not very many stairs, so it was good.
yeah. Well, I had a choice at the time, either BCC or Langara. But
Hmm.
for me, because I was coming right on the SkyTrain, I went right down to VCC because I just got the Stadium Station and then
Hmm.
right up the road there.
Yeah.
But I look over time and saying what works, what doesn't work, like for accessibility wise when it comes to that. Ramps, I mean, for sure. There is
So
some improvements.
so that is what we call an accessibility win is the ramps. And
Yay!
and 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 again, people are going to say, well, you're being too obvious, Neil, or you're being too obvious, Brent.
Uh,
But
yeah,
like I
but
said, like some people can look at the ramps and say, so what? Or they'll
yeah,
look at the stairs and say, so what? It's not a so what. It's
yeah. They'll
it's
say it doesn't affect my life,
it's a
so
big deal. And
it does. It
and before we
is.
before we leave the ramps, I also wanted to give a visual aid. And I realize for people that are going to be listening back on the audio, they're not going to be able to see the visual aid, so I'll have to explain it a little bit. But there's Robson Square here in Vancouver. We have something called Robson Square,
Mhm.
and it's a downtown area, and they have this ramp, they have this stairs and a ramp built into the stairs. They call it a stramp. They call it a stramp. And
Tramp,
it was built back in the early 70s. So
ramp up,
I
ramp.
so again, there was no foresight into saying, well, people with disabilities are going to actually use this. I mean, you can see that the intent was there to make it make it accessible for people with wheelchairs and scooters or whatever. But it
Hmm.
was just, it's not well executed at all. You can
Hmm.
tell it was designed in the 70s. You can tell that nobody with disabilities was actually consulted before this thing was built
Gosh,
because
go figure.
I'm going to do the share screen now, and the share screen that I'm going to show probably doesn't have justice on how bad this actually is. But again, I'm going to try to explain, I'm going to try to describe it. Basically, you have, think of this, like this massive staircase, like almost like a leading up to the courthouse kind of thing, this
Okay.
huge, really steep staircase. And then cut in the middle of the staircase is this winding ramp. So you actually have a wheelchair ramp, but
Oh,
it's cut inside the ramp
cut
so that
inside.
so that you have this stairs and the ramp are together, and
Hmm.
there's no separation. Like it's just cut into the stairs, and so it's very unsafe. Number one, it's very steep. The
I mean,
ramp,
sounds
the
neat, but it's still unsafe.
it looks cool.
That's what
It
I mean.
looks cool, but it's very unsafe.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, and you can see the headline here. It says that the province won't change the Robson Square steps despite
Gosh.
accessibility complaints. I mean,
Gosh. Wow.
for somebody like this was back in 2019, this article was written.
Hmm.
But for somebody like you that was low vision, I mean low vision at night, I mean even during the day,
Yeah.
there's no bright paint or anything to delineate where the ramp ends and the stairs begin, because like I said,
Yeah.
the ramp is cut into the stairs
Hmm.
completely, and there's no barrier or protection dividing the ramp from the stairs. It's all just cut into in one piece.
Well, especially when if you have bright paint, like say it's yellow. I'll use an example, yellow paint. So anyone listening to the audio version of the podcast, so imagine you have bright yellow paint, and then you got pale, say very pale, worn out yellow paint that you could barely see. Now you're looking for that bright yellow paint, and now it can throw your whole perception off. So if you're low vision or very sight impaired of extremely low vision, where you either have tunnel vision or your peripheral vision is all you can see, but you can't see straight ahead. That can really throw like, or anybody who has mobility issues of, and I don't like the word challenges, so I'll use mobility issues of the not having the proper aid of having the paint colored of bright enough fluorescent brightness, that can really throw a person off. I mean, I've run into for myself personally, as my opinion, it should be all bright. Things should be upgraded so that there is no obstacles, where a person now can be independent for their own needs of using the technology, meaning technology of paint, of using that as your tool to help you guide your way through. I mean, and I think it's asking for too much at all. No, because I've run against that so many times in my life of different places where, I'll give an example. People that are familiar with just you know the Granville SkyTrain station, that long escalator that goes all the way up. It just
Oh
seems
yeah,
going up and up and up,
that's
right?
like a death
So
trap, that
yeah.
thing.
So
Yeah,
getting onto there, it's like if you're not really watching that escalator or the stairs going down,
yeah.
like it can throw you off. So that perception, your peripheral, or I guess maybe not peripheral, but your perception of where that stairs is. It's, you know, so if you even your legs out on your feet on there, you're fine. Just don't move, right?
Yeah.
But if you're getting down to the bottom, and if you're not really watching, or when you get down to the very bottom, they don't try to take one step, because you can tumble. So you just wait till you get right even. And I almost had that happen a few times,
Yeah.
where I misjudged. But then I thought, no, just wait,
Yeah,
Brent.
I won't touch that.
No.
But what I was gonna say is you can't see the screen share, Brent, but I kind of stopped. There's a picture of my friend Arnold Chang, and
Hmm.
he's a disability consultant. or
Mm,
accessibility consultant. He has his own business. It's called Spectrum Ability, and so
mm,
he does consulting for accessibility issues. And so I stopped on this picture of him because he's the one that has kind of called out that stramp at Robson Square, saying it's really because I mean he can do it because he's an expert person on his wheelchair, right? But I
mhm.
mean, even if I was in my scooter and I was in a scooter, I wouldn't go down that thing.
Actually, I can see it. I just have to look at the TV behind me because I actually have the
Oh,
TV
okay. Okay.
so that I can now look over. People say, "What is he doing?" So I can actually look on the TV while I'm actually doing the podcast here. I got the
Huh.
TV behind there, so I can
Okay.
actually look at it. Yeah. Oh wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's my friend. That's my friend Arnold Chang, and
Okay.
like I said, he's a consultant for disability accessibility, and so that's his job is to evaluate things like accessible bathrooms and accessible
Mhm.
buildings and building code and all that kind of stuff. And you know his thing is yeah that ramp or stramp is way too steep.
Mhm.
It's got no barrier transition between the stairs and the ramp. It's
Mhm.
just it's all cut in one piece. It's very unsafe the way it's all kind of like I said, it looks cool, and
Oh
even he
yeah.
says in the article it looks cool, but it's very unsafe.
Mhm.
So anyway, we'll go back to the full screen here, but I just wanted to share that kind of visual aid of you know here's a ramp. It was a cool idea, but
Mhm.
that's the difference between accessibility in the 70s. They thought, well, hey, let's put a ramp in for people,
Yeah.
anybody that might have a wheelchair. Let's put a ramp in. Well, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's not accessibility at all.
No. No.
So I mean, fast forward, you know, 50 years or so, and you know, now people would look at that and go, "Yeah, don't put that in.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea." Yeah,
Yeah, you know, and some
yeah.
places still have that old technology in place, but some places have upgraded their infrastructure to accommodate people with disabilities. For mobility wise, there's more to do. Oh, for sure. Like and I think with advocacy across our beautiful country, um, you know, I think there opportunity for organizations and businesses to adapt to just the ways of what works good for the person, you know, and make it more accessible for sure. Because you
Mhm.
know, getting around mobility wise, I mean, it's just giving that extra aid, that tool, just to enable that person to be you know more inclusive in their community, and you know, and be able to get from point A to point B without all the other hurdles that you got to keep jumping through. Like, I'll give an example where um, if I have to go through these fare gates in Metro Vancouver, you have to tap your card and it opens up.
Yeah.
And in Toronto, they have the same thing. Like I know Dan's watching, like Dan or anybody else that's in Toronto area. I mean, Metro Toronto area. Different areas that are outside of the area too. Communities they have a tap system. There you just tap
Mhm.
it, and then the gates open up. Um, and sometimes if there's a flaw in their system for some reason it doesn't open, they have attendants I've noticed in
Yeah.
Toronto where they're right there and they're more than happy to help. And that's one thing I found was it was more just so accessible where like if I wasn't sure where to go, because trying to read the print on these big boards, like the numbers would change where say train is in platform whatever
Mhm.
1 2 3 4, or reading the times on that, I would say, well, what time does that train leave? Oh, what train are you catching? Well, wherever I was going, right? And okay, and the time, and there she says, well, the one attendant says, "Can you see that, sir?" And I can see it. I can't make out the number. Oh, no problem. And I thought, wow. And she says, okay, so the current time is, you know, blah, blah. And that's what time the train goes.
Mhm.
Okay. So now I looked and I really concentrated really hard. I really pushed, um, you know, seeing that. And okay, I could actually then see that number because these things were changing so fast. And then I did see the number. I got a little bit closer and I looked up. Oh, okay, you know, that's one of that's one of my obstacles I have is really small print where the one attendant says, "See, I can see that from here, but can you see it?" I said, "I can see it. I can't make out what it is."
Mhm.
Oh, I said, "Yeah, I have low vision. I can get around." But she says, "Yeah, you can get around." Yeah, I can get around. I just can't see the same things that you can see from a
Mhm.
distance. And I said, "But I also have to watch for painting, if its stuff is worn off in certain areas because it can throw my peripheral off, my balance off, and then yeah, I
Mhm.
don't want to go for a tumble."
Yeah.
Imagine that. Hey, yeah, catching train number 4, platform.
But remember too, there's people that live in Vancouver, of course, are going to know, but maybe people that don't won't know. But for like we put Vancouver put the SkyTrain in. It was 1985 in
Mm-hmm.
preparation for the World Expo in
Yeah,
'86, and
that was
and
wonderful.
and starting then, it was basically just an honor system. There was no gates.
Nope.
They just assumed that people would pay, and there was no gate system. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
you, and it was actually really good because it was like there was
Mm-hmm.
nothing obstructing your path. Like if you were in a wheelchair or scooter or something, there was no gates to get through. It was just like if you got to the platform, you just got on. There was nothing in your way. There's nothing to tap.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It was way.
you just went from the bus to the SkyTrain, and it was just assumed you were on the total honor system. And in a way, that was so much better. And you wish the system could go back to the honor system where there weren't as. I mean,
Yeah,
you understand why they do it because,
yeah.
of course, there's idiots who always spoil everything, right?
Well,
But
that's part of
yeah,
the is part of the this system that, I mean, it was working great for people, and then unfortunately there was, they call them bad actors, right? They took
yeah.
advantage of the system, and then they got to change the whole system because of some individuals that were just abusing the transit system that
Because
we
it
have.
literally stayed honor system for like 30
A long time.
years. It
Oh
was
yeah,
30 years it stayed honor system.
yeah.
And then the government says, "Well, we can't do honor system anymore. And we got to put in gates." And talking about accessibility kind of failures, again, going back to that Stramp idea where it was in the '70s where nobody actually bothered to talk to anybody in a wheelchair before they designed that. Same kind of thing. The government just decided they were going to put these gates in without really consulting anybody with a disability.
Mm-hmm,
And then all these people with disabilities says, well, you can't put the gates in like that because they're not accessible. And
mm-hmm.
and and then they remember they had to actually rip out some of the gates and
Yep.
reinstall them differently because
Yes,
because
I
the
remember.
first time they installed them it was totally incorrect because they never bothered to consult anybody with a disability.
Mm-hmm.
It's like let's not bother talking to anybody with an actual disability that's going to use it.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah. They just talked to some advisors who were talking on behalf of people with disabilities,
yeah.
not people with lived experience disabilities. And here's another good example about accessibility when it comes to the gates. So I have an ID card that I have that for I can use for transit, and I can travel anywhere in the country with an attendant. And but if that card is not active, like, so if for some reason, if it's just a well, now it is, but because technology now, but I had a problem where it wasn't universal. I couldn't use it on the gate system, the tapping system. So
Mhm.
I would show up there. I'd come from the island. I would show up there. I couldn't use my tapping card onto their system. Now it's integrated. Thank you.
Mhm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I had to wait for an attendant. If there was no attendant there, I would have to press the button on the wall. They call an attendant. They would be, say, at another station. They'd have to come out to that station and then open up the gate and manually let me in, and then
Mhm.
they'd say, "Well, can you not get the bus pass, Brent, from the provincial government? I know there's the bus pass program." I go, "Oh, I'd have to opt into that. I'd have to opt into it." Okay, so I end up getting like a different card for it. But now I got two cards. I said, "Well, just make the system more accessible for me, where I don't have to wait for an attendant. Now I'm delayed, and it's like putting a barrier in front of me." I said, "I like to have unbarriers. I like to be able to
Mhm.
be independent and do it myself." I said, don't want to have to be waiting around. And now I'm inconvenience an attendant who could maybe be helping somebody else who needs attention for whatever else the reason may be. So I'm glad that the system got changed that way. I mean, in the better. Again, I wish that, as you mentioned, Neil, not having gates, yeah, it would be way better.
Not
Not
having gates was way better, of
it
course.
was way better.
Uh, but and the fact that the government didn't bother to consult anybody with a disability before putting the gates in was stupid too. So
Well,
they ended up wasting so much money because they had to rip them out and reinstall them differently. You know,
well,
it's like whoops, our bad, whoops.
it's like the card
You
I
know,
have is like it gets renewed, and then they have to make sure that the technology is updated on that. And so when it comes time for renewal on my card, right now it works, but when I have to then look for when it gets renewed, so I got to
Mhm.
make sure that it's implemented in again because they had to manually put this in place. But
Mhm.
that's another topic in itself. But I mean, wow, like,
You
um,
know, we should have just titled the show about ramps because
yeah, yeah,
it feels like all we're talking about is ramps, and so we're actually running short on time. But I did want to kind of quickly, if we could, run through some very like I had a whole list of, and I'm sure you did too. I didn't want this whole show to just be about ramps, because we could talk about curb cuts.
yeah,
Curb cuts is huge.
hmm,
Like again, back in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't as many curb cuts. But I
hmm.
tell you, like every time I see a curb cut, I'm like, I say a little blessing, you know, like thank you
Oh
so
my God,
much. Like a curb cut, like and like you know, you don't realize that there's a lot of stores where they only have like one curb cut in the on the whole parking lot where you have to actually go to the end of the parking lot
yep,
and go on the scooter on the one curb cut to get onto the sidewalk
yeah.
and then you know and then you go all the way over to enter the whatever store you want to get into. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's like a crook. It's like a little tiny. It's like almost like a ramp, but it not quite. But it kind of goes down. But then
yeah,
you always have the
yeah,
barriers in place, so now you have to go all the way down along, all the way
yeah. Because
to get back.
again in the 70s and
Oh,
80s there were no curb cuts. So it's like if you were in a wheelchair or a scooter, like good luck.
mhm.
You had no hope, right?
Yeah, I find
Um,
all parking lots too. About accessibility wise, it's like there's not enough sidewalks in a lot of these malls. And for accessibility wise, I find it very dangerous, really.
yeah.
Some malls are better than others, but in general, I think there's a lot more that needs to be done for accessibility wise, where part of a sidewalk this ends, and now where do you go? Like there's
Yeah.
no crosswalk in some of these malls of and yeah, and there's vehicles coming by and wow, like
No, it's amazing. Like, cause like I said, like I was on crutches for most of my life.
mhm,
You know, I stayed on crutches until, you know, when was it? Like, I've only been injured for about 2 years now, so it's about 55 years I was on crutches almost. You know,
mhm,
uh, so that's a long time to be on crutches, and so even if they didn't have a curb cut.
mhm.
I didn't really care. I could still step over that curb.
Yeah,
No big deal. But now that I'm stuck on a scooter or a wheelchair, like it's amazing how quickly
mhm,
your mentality changes. Like you're looking for those curb cuts. You're like,
yeah.
thank you that there's a curb cut there. Thank you so much.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Um,
Some people
uh,
would or would take it for granted that it's oh it's
yeah,
there and they would say oh it's
yeah.
no big deal to me, but it
Yeah.
is it is a big deal to anybody who's in
It's
a
it's
wheelchair.
it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
The other things we can run through quickly is
yeah.
push buttons.
Yeah, I was
Push
just in that,
push
Neil.
buttons on.
I'm
Yeah.
on that one
Yeah.
because push buttons is a big thing for me. Living in one apartment in Langley, they had a push button on the door, a ramp going
Mhm.
up. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, nice, good walkway. You had been like, hey, this is great, all the way up this walkway, and they had and that's wide area where if you're in a wheelchair or a scooter, you could easily just turn and go up the next ramp. You know what I mean? So it was wide
Mhm.
enough where you could turn, go up. So here's a push button on the door. You press it, but the door doesn't open.
Yeah.
Okay. So why? Because you need a fob. a fob to open it. So now
Right.
you have to press the fob on there, but the door still doesn't open. Like it doesn't open automatically.
Yeah.
Oh, it drove me crazy. And so
Yeah.
I looked into it. Why wasn't it done? Because the owner didn't want to pay to have the automated door to open automatically.
Oh, wow.
It was, and the developers told me when they installed that in, the option was there for the door to open automatically, and it wouldn't cost that much. It was very
Mm.
cheap to do it. It would cost more to do it after, so they just left it that way. I found it as a total inaccessible, situation to obstacle to get around. First thing I
Mhm.
thought was anyone who's in a wheelchair or a mobility device can, or even crutches, or anyone carrying groceries, bags. I mean,
Yeah.
press it. I mean, how are you supposed to open it now? And
Yeah.
you know what? You know what the response was. Then I'm going to jump into about malls in a moment. You know what the
Mhm.
response was from the manager was, well, nobody in this building lives has a mobility device, wheelchair, or a scooter. Wow,
Yeah. So
wow.
we don't have to worry about it then. Yeah.
I said to the manager, wow, wow. And she goes, is that all you have to say is wow? I said, that is so ableist. That is so
Yeah.
ableist. And she didn't
Yeah.
even know what the word ableist meant. So I just
Wow.
said that, everyone.
Mm.
But anyway, getting to about malls. Well, one of my pet peeves. Oh, we've got some malls in Victoria here. Um, there's one of them is a little bit better than the other one. Now, of course, a lot of the infrastructure was built way back in like 60s, 70s. I mean, even before one of the malls, it's very historic, and I get it. But the one downtown on Douglas Street, if everyone's familiar with Douglas Street in Victoria, they call it the Bay Center. Okay, so the Bay Center, you go along on Douglas Street, the doors automatically open. They open up. It's like a spaceship. It's like you're just going in. Uh, Yeah, and that's awesome. Why? Because you don't have to press any buttons. You don't need a button to press. It just door automatically opens, and it's because it's a sensor right there. It senses that you're coming and going, and a lot of volume, people. So now you're inside the mall. There's another mall. Yeah, it doesn't. You have to press the button, but now you have to pull the handle to open up the door.
Right.
Um, one of the entrances does have it where you press the button and the door does open. Great. Would I
Mhm.
want to see something better, like the downtown location, Bay Center? Yes, that should be automatic. The door should automatically open. I think it's huge for barrier free, and I think for accessibility wise, it should be done that way. Then they got what was the other mall? There's Hillside Mall. That one, Dale, I was talking to you yesterday, Neil, about this one. They got a button, but the door doesn't open. So usually people will go through, if they got a lot of volume from the mall, people will go usually on the right hand side, people come out on the left hand side, right? So you press
Mhm.
this button, the door doesn't open.
Mhm.
So somebody's coming along on the other side. Oh, here, sir, ma'am, here, I'll hold the door. So they're coming out on the left hand side. They're opening the door.
Right.
So now you're trying to get in that side because they're just being courteous to hold the door open.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I'm trying to open up the door. I just want to open the door myself. So now you got a whole congregation of people trying to come and go. And
Yeah.
oh man, the other mall, Telecom. Now that's quite a ways from here. I don't go out there too often because it's quite a bus ride to get out there. But every so often, there's doors automatically open. Yeah,
Mhm.
automatic doors. So those are the malls I'm familiar with. There's some other ones too further Langford, but um, out in the Metro Vancouver, I found that Metrotown was really good. The malls, the doors automatically. Willowbrook Mall in Langley, yep, doors
Yeah.
automatically open.
Yeah.
There's so many malls that do have it. There's other malls that don't. The ones who don't have it, you just have the push button. I think that you may want to update that technology because it's there. I
Mhm.
mean, you can use that technology to your advantage of not just benefiting some of the merchants maybe that are coming in. Maybe they're coming and going. Maybe they bought some merchandise in your own store and they got their hands full and they don't have an extra hand to push that button. The door opens up
Mhm.
automatically, and just people with disabilities. I mean, your shoppers, people who are bringing business to your mall and to your stores. I think it would
Well, I
make
remember,
it.
again, this is going to date me, of course, again, but I remember in the 70s, I used to live in Burnaby, so I think our main mall we used to go to would be Brentwood. And I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Brentwood's way different now. They've done a
Mhm.
whole bunch of different updates to that mall. But
I like that
back
mall way back
back
when.
in the day, back in the 70s,
Brentwood. Brentwood.
yeah, there was I think there was only like one elevator in the entire mall.
It's not named after me, everyone.
Yeah, but there was only one elevator in the entire mall, I believe, and and there was all these escalators, and there was lots of times where my mom was like, "I don't feel like walking to the elevator because it's like way on the other end." And so I'd go down the escalator, and those things were like death traps too,
Oh
and
yeah, I
I
know.
go down it on my crutches,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was so scary. But I wanted to quickly again go through some things. Like
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about washrooms. Washrooms is accessible washrooms is huge, especially now that I broke my hip. And like I always feel bad for like again my first wife. It feels bad that I have to kind of squish us all into like 3 minutes or whatever. But my first wife with a disability, she was in a motorized chair, and arthrogryposis, and she needed the help of carrieds 24/7 for doing things like washroom and basically any kind of grooming, or even she could feed herself mostly, but she needed help getting out of bed, and she needed help with the washroom, and she needed help with showering and all that kind of stuff. And now that I've got broken my hip, I've gotten a more appreciation of how important it is to have an accessible washroom, because I remember with my first wife, she was the government would pay for the care aids, right? But
Mhm. Of
they would always try to shortchange her. They'd always try to say, well,
course.
do you really need that money? Do you
Yeah.
really need 24/7 carriage? Do you really need it? So they'd say things like, well, couldn't you just wear a diaper? Couldn't
Oh,
you just wear a diaper, right? And do you really need to have a shower every day? And all this.
that would be one of the questions I'd say to the government. Do you need that?
Well,
Yeah,
that's what my wife would say too. Like, would you like to wear a diaper and be sitting in your shit all
exactly.
day?
Yeah, exactly.
And would you like to have more than one shower a week? But unfortunately, even today, we have people living in care homes that are literally getting one shower a week,
I know.
and it's disgusting. So again, that's why I super appreciate an accessible washroom. Again, it seems like an obvious thing, but again, it's an underappreciated thing for a lot of people. I think they're like, "Who cares? It's a washroom." But
Huge though.
like now, like I had to pay $15,000 to put this washroom into my house, and you
Yeah.
think, oh, genial, $15,000. You could really afford that? And it's like the actual answer is no. I couldn't afford it, but I had to do it.
Yeah,
I had to
exactly.
do it. It
Make it
was
more accessible for
there
yourself. Yeah.
wasn't a choice,
Yeah.
because like I need to have a shower, and I need to be able to go to the bathroom and stuff.
Yeah.
And like my shower, for example, I have like there's four grab bars in the shower.
Oh wow.
I have a shower chair, and
Yeah.
and there's no lip basically. It's just it's
You
there's
gotta roll
no
in.
it's just it's totally flat, more or less, to get from the floor into the shower, completely flat.
Oh wow.
And because even if it was like half an inch,
Yeah.
I can't even lift my foot half an inch anymore. It's so stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and as these showers and these washrooms, I mean, they're made exclusively for accessibility wise. I mean, I'm glad that you were able to get your shower. I mean, your
Yeah,
washroom is set just for you,
yeah,
and that's what it's all about, is making it accessible. Especially like you say in malls and businesses, like especially malls. I've seen a lot of malls lately over the years. Uh, they're really doing major upgrades on their washrooms. They're making them more
hmm,
accessible, and they're more wide too. Like it's
right,
huge, and it's awesome. And a bravo to the malls that are for doing that, because they're modernizing things. They're making it so user friendly, especially those hand dryers. Some people say,
yeah,
ooh, ooh. Oh yeah, it's just like, shh.
Well, you know this more than I do, Brent, because of course you live in
Yeah.
Victoria. There's a lot of really old architecture in Victoria, right?
Oh yeah. So
So
building.
a lot of the hotels, a
Hmm.
lot of the hotels there don't have accessible washrooms, really, do they?
No.
I would
No.
say the vast majority, like maybe at least 95% do not have an accessible washroom in any of the
Hmm.
hotels. You're probably looking at maybe
Hmm.
5% of the hotels in all of Victoria area
Hmm.
are accessible. And I mean, that's just one example. And that like if to think of about going on vacation or going
Hmm.
anywhere outside my house, like I really have to think about that. Like, is there going to be a washroom there that I can use? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Speaking of accessibility, you just reminded me of this one, and Dan knows. He's probably still in the chat there. Um, the hotel that when we were there, where you showed us, the area. It was called something else you said back then, but I didn't even know this. We had all of our luggage. I mean, it was heavy, and just accessibility wise. So the attendant says, "Oh well, hang on, we got this neat little device here, and there's stairs that are right there. The elevators are right there." And I thought,
Mhm.
"Oh, geez, trying to lug this heavy luggage, and it wasn't a lot of stairs. It was like only three little flights. Like you could, I mean, easily get down. I mean, the one suitcase one day they were so busy, I felt bad, so I just grabbed it, heaved it down, and got down the stairs. But they got this little box, and it opens. Door opens. You get in, and you bring your suitcases in there, and then they press the button, and then it goes down to ground level, and they open the door, and out you go. I thought,
Yeah.
oh wow, that is so neat. They made it very accessible for anyone in a wheelchair or mobility device, anything, scooters. I mean, walkers. I mean, anyone in crutches. I thought, how is anyone supposed to navigate around this? And then one attendant told me we actually made this way because it was poorly designed way back when. After we
Mhm.
bought after we bought the hotel, and we
Mhm.
figured, well, let's put this mechanism in here, and it's going to make it more accessible for people, rather
Mhm.
than spending like a lot more dollars having to redo the stairing and putting like a ramp to go down because
Yeah.
there was just nowhere to do that. So I
Mhm.
thought kudos on them. Like that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I mean that was kind of like making businesses more accessible.
Mhm.
Um, I mean the big thing for me is just making society more inclusive for people with disabilities across Canada and I mean around the world. I mean I've done a little bit of traveling. There's so much more on a bucket list down the road that I want to go and see and do. Our adventure that we took, like way down through the U.S. That time. Some areas, yeah, they could probably do a little bit more upgrades for sure, accessibility wise. New York was wonderful. I mean, the accessibility wise,
Well,
great.
I'm glad you used the word inclusive actually, because I did want to mention one more example of accessibility,
Yeah,
but it's more about inclusion, like in inclusionary spaces, let's say,
yeah.
inclusionary public spaces. And I wanted to use the example of beaches, for
Mm.
example, because like a sandy beach
Oh,
is
yeah.
not something that
Mm.
uh, behaves well or plays well with a wheelchair, right?
No,
Like sand and wheelchairs do not go well together, right?
especially if it's
But
quicksand.
yeah, but what's cool is you have beaches now in Vancouver. I think Kits Beach is one of them where they
Mm.
actually have they've actually built cement walkways now that go right out into the sand. So
Oh,
for like all the way out,
down
so
years.
people in
Mm.
wheelchairs can go all the way out on these cement walkways and go right out to the beach. I mean,
Oh, wow.
you have to stay on the walkway, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
but it's cool that they have that option
Oh,
now.
awesome.
And I mean, I also think of like there's Crescent Beach here,
Yeah, near White Rock
in
area.
White Rock area. It's cool too. It's not right on the beach, but there's basically a cement walkway that goes
Yeah.
all the way along the beach. So you're not
Well,
right on the beach, but the walkway goes all the way down.
yeah,
And
I've got. That way, it's one of my favorite areas to go to.
Yeah,
And you get so much scenery through there. It's so nice and quiet. It's peaceful. It's one of my areas on my bucket list to go to also. Yeah, might do a little coffee time out that way sometime. Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I just wanted to say that I really appreciate and things like accessible playgrounds too. Like again, when my wife was around, my first wife, she was again in a motorized wheelchair, and there was a playground down in downtown Vancouver actually had a ramp
Oh,
to get up onto the playground equipment.
cool.
And so she did that with our son when he was like four or five or something. Not well, not quite five yet, but so maybe three or four. He was
Mhm.
up and playing on the stuff, and she said, I want to go up there," and she could because there was a ramp. So she took her whole big chair up there and sat up there on the equipment with my son. And it
Oh,
was
wow.
really cool. So I have a picture of her. She's up, like really high up on this, this big playground thing with all this wooden structure. She's
Yeah.
up, perched up there, and
Yeah.
she could get up there because of the ramp. So it was really cool.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and again, it just doesn't take that much thought or foresight. All you have to do is like pour some concrete to out on the sand or build a ramp up on a playground and job done. You've included somebody now.
Hmm. Well,
So
exactly.
it's cool.
Including people in society, and integrate people into society who who have mobility, just mobility aids to just make them feel more inclusive in belonging together. It's not difficult to do. I mean, it's just that mindset of actually, businesses and governments saying, "Hey, we can do this. Hey, that's brilliant." And that's actually use the can do and actually do. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing of what comes out of it, right? When they all work together and getting things done. I find White Rock is wonderful too, along the pier. However, that's great on the city council, White Rock and the mayor, where they wanted to along the pier. People are familiar with the pier along White Rock Pier there.
Mhm.
That's a long pier. It goes way out there. There was a problem where it was a barrier issue. I didn't really notice a lot at the time. Of course, for me, I wasn't in I don't use a mobility like a scooter or a wheelchair, but I did, like I noticed that you got all you walk on the pier, of course, you got all the wood barriers across all the way along.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
if you're scared of heights, I just say just don't even look down. I mean, you're not really going to see all the cracks in between. Just keep walking straight ahead. Just keep walking.
Yeah.
But I mean, these the some of the wood planks on there, they kind of creak. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, I hope they
Yeah.
don't break, right? Wow,
Well,
that's
they
rough.
had to repair that. They had
They
to
had to
repair
repair it
that wharf because it
because
got
they
destroyed.
yeah. And the thing
Yeah.
is, when they repaired it, there was some bumps in there. So people that were on scooters or wheelchairs, they weren't able to get through proper
Mm.
because they said it was very uneven. So
Mhm.
now it's been redone, and
Well,
it's
that's
great
good.
to make people, um, not make people, but allow people to, enjoy the pier like everybody else.
Mhm.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to spend a lot of time on that beach, and of course
It's
built some.
it's a really nice area. Like I like Crescent Beach too because it's a lot more quieter,
Yeah.
and in some ways it's almost easier to get out to the beach because it's the walkway is right there all the way along.
Hmm.
So it's kind of cool.
I used to build
Um,
castles along there, and then of course the water would come in, and yeah, I'd be like, oh no.
yeah,
And then right across from there, people are familiar, is Birch Bay. It's right across the
yeah,
waterway from there in the
yeah.
U.S. So I remember the tide was out one time, and I spent so many summers, so much time, every opportunity I could get. We got down to the beach there, but the tide went so far. I didn't walk way out, but you could go way out in the sand. So
Mhm.
technically, you're way out in the sand. You're actually in the part of the U.S., but you're not. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
I mean,
true.
so
That's
that you're way
true.
out in the sand, and
Yeah,
my mom would be yelling, "Don't go too far because the water is going to be coming in. I'm building a sand castle."
yeah,
Yeah, well, watch out for the crabs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I was out that way too a lot as a kid. Um, I know we're running
yeah,
short on time, Brent, but I just wanted
yeah.
to close off with kind of we've actually been talking about peeves of accessibility too, and
Mhm.
one of my peeves that I wanted to end with, a big one, is the automated cashiers where
Oh yeah.
where the self checkouts and the
Mm.
automated cashier things where like you on the last podcast you started the show by saying please go to
Oh yeah.
door number one.
Yeah.
But in Walmart they don't have that anymore apparently because I think people got annoyed. But for
Mhm.
the longest time, Walmart had please go to checkout three, please
Yes.
go to checkout five, please go to checkout, and
About eight.
and it would be like just continual like.
Mm.
They just change these numbers, and it would be like this constant stream of numbers. It's like, which one you want me to go to then? You
Yeah.
know, and all these self checkouts where you'd say, well, you know, please put the item on the scale, and so you'd put the item on or on the scanner, and then it would
Yeah.
be like, please remove the item off the scanner, please put the item in the bag, and then it would be like, please take the item out of the bag if you did a mistake or something. And it's like, oh, come on,
Yeah. Unknown item, and then also,
yeah,
and then the light would actually instead of green, it would turn red. So now you're stuck. You can't do anything. Now you got to wait for an attendant to come by and
yeah.
override it to find out what went wrong. I
So my ending comment on this whole show is you know what the best accessibility aid ever created is, Brent?
hmm, what's that?
Human beings. It's the best
Bravo.
it's the best ability accessibility aid ever designed as another human being.
Yeah.
And and the thing is that again, it's one of those unseen, unappreciated things where, like, whenever I go to the shopping now, because I can't really get up off of the scooter, because again, my balance sucks.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm gonna fall over all the time now, so I
Yeah.
basically stay on my scooter, and so now I can't reach up high as much as I could have
Right.
before. And so I'm constantly asking people in the store, could you please help me reach that? And
Mhm.
people are great. They'll say, oh yeah, no problem, right? And if I didn't have the help of people,
Mhm.
that's why the self-checkout bugs me, because it's like I want a person to just help me put the stuff in the bag, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do this all myself. It sucks, you know?
Yeah. I'll, I'll
Uh,
I'll
so
give a
I
couple.
just wanted just to end there saying that human beings are still the best mobility aid there is. And there's still the best accessibility aid there is human beings helping human beings navigate the world. That's the best thing. That's the best thing there is. And we got to keep doing that, not having all this like having all this automated crap. It's like please go to, and please put the item in the bag. Please take the item out of the bag. And it's like, no, don't tell me that.
Put the
Yeah.
item back in. Put the item back in, and you can imagine a robot coming by.
Oh,
You're not listening. Put the item back
so
in.
annoying, right?
Warning
So
number
annoying.
warning number two, number
Like
three. Big arm
like
comes out.
like let's keep human beings relevant.
Yeah.
And I bet there's a lot of politicians out there. There's even a lot of people out there that don't realize how hard it is as a person as with a disability to humble yourself,
Hmm.
to actually humble yourself and say, I need help. Because I don't
Hmm.
I don't like always asking for help, right? I mean, I remember my wife would say this too, is like, because again, she had needed help like with the bathroom and stuff. And so she says, like, do I really need to say thank you every time somebody wipes my butt?
Yeah.
Like she understood like it's important to be polite and stuff, but she says, you know what? It's annoying. Like every time somebody wipes my butt, or like I have to scratch my eyebrow, and do I have to say thank you every time? She
Hmm.
says she says it's annoying, like because it's stuff that I want to do for myself
Yeah.
anyway.
Penance. Yeah.
You want that independence, but so at the same time, but then you realize you do need help. So
Yeah.
it's a
Push
really
it.
kind of
Yeah.
it's a really kind of hard thing where you want it
The
to be
balance between.
independent,
Yeah.
but you also have to humble yourself and realize, you know what, I do need the help.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that humility. And I think there's a lot of politicians that would not be able to handle it. So all
No.
these politicians that say, "Oh, you know, just get a job, Neil, or just get a job, Brent,"
Mhm.
and you know, do they even realize how long it takes in the morning for my wife in her wheelchair to get ready in the morning? Like she was a school teacher for 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
It took her sometimes 2 hours to get ready in the morning, and it wasn't
Mhm.
because she was slow. It just that's because that's how long it took her,
Mhm.
you know? And like I
Exactly.
said, she was a very good teacher for 16, 17 years. And you can say, well, you know, just get out there and work. Well, and like you could say the
No.
same thing for me. Is like, just get out there and work, Neil. Well, I'm sorry. Now I have to really worry about, is there going to be a bathroom where I work that's going to be completely accessible? Like,
Mhm.
probably not, honestly, right?
Yeah.
Probably not.
You just you know, and yeah,
You
it's
know,
like now it's like you're looking at how can I sustain my life, you know, like for yourself, like you know the way the circumstance now where your disability is at, your mobility wise,
Mhm.
where it's at now. How can society make things better? You know, with you know your situation, right? And yeah, like there's so much that needs to be taught by to governments, like rather than like I just
because I can guarantee you that somebody like David Eby would never be able to humble himself to say, "Could you please help me with that?"
mhm,
Like I just know that he's not the type of person that could easily say, you know, could you please help me wipe my ass and always be saying thank you for that. You
mhm.
know, you realize how hard that is? Like politicians don't think about that. They don't think about that. But it's like so hard just to have somebody wipe your ass and to always be saying thank you.
Mhm.
And then to have the same government say, you know, maybe just wear a diaper, maybe just wear a diaper, or maybe you can only have a shower for 1 day a week. You know,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. It's not respecting the person. And maybe I'm going off on a tangent, but I just wanted to
Well,
end. I just wanted to end on the personal level of that
yeah,
human beings still matter. Like the best helper of another human being is another human being. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, no, you hit it right on the head on that, because it's all about respect and autonomy, right? That word, that it's a huge word, that word autonomy, because it's letting that person make that decision for themselves. Like, but you just need that tool to kind of go along with it, just to make it better for that person to make that decision that works best for them. Is that basically meaning that getting another human being saying, "Here, let me give you a hand. You're having trouble reaching that," or Brent, can you see that? No, I can't. Can you bring that down to a level, maybe on another shelf, where I can now see that? How many
Hmm.
times I've been at a grocery store where, I mean, no fault of my own. I mean, some people are tall, some people are not. Well, I'm not over 6 foot tall, right? 6 feet
Hmm.
tall. You know, short for my age. But trying to reach tall and high up
It's
there.
because you drank too much coffee as a
Yeah,
child, Brent.
I just didn't eat my spinach. No, that's what one there was one worker in the store one day, and uh, he said, "Here's the problem. You probably just didn't eat your spinach when you were a kid, right? You
There you
are
go.
tall." I said, "Yeah, that's it, that's it." So he says,
Yeah.
"Well, what can I, you know, how can I make it better? How can I?" And you know, and this was in Langley at the time. He goes, "How can I make it better for you, sir? Could you tell me the price on that? I can't see the price on that. And also, could you bring the item down, because I may need it if the price is right. If the
Mhm.
price is right." Wrong answer,
Yeah.
Bob.
Come on down.
Come on down. So anyway, basically it made it more accessible for me. It made it more of
Yeah.
a pleasurable experience,
Yeah.
because that person who was working there went out of their way to accommodate it, to make it better for me. And at the end
Hmm.
of the day, I actually end up getting that item because I could afford it at that time. I could afford to get that item. And it's something that I needed, and it lasted longer. And
Yeah.
it was and bonus, it was on sale,
Well,
but I could
that
not reach it, and I couldn't see the price. So
yeah, that well, that's just it. That's just it, Brent. Like when I go to grocery shopping, like asking as a stranger, could you please get that so I could check the date to see if it's not expired?
yeah.
And so that person has to kind of stay with me for at least a couple minutes,
Hmm.
and they'll check a couple of dates for me,
Hmm.
so they just can't say here's the item and they walk away.
Yeah, now you're the item.
They actually stay for a while. They're checking items for me, and they're
Hmm.
like, oh, here's a good one, so that's what I mean. Like human beings, you need to stay there for a while to help that person if they need help, you know. And as somebody like with a disability, like I said, is like that humility or to be humble and
Yeah.
realize, yes, I do need help.
Hmm.
That's actually a harder thing than a lot of people realize, to put yourself in that situation where you're having to depend on other people when you really want to do it yourself. Like
Oh,
another thing that used to bother my wife a lot is that people would say, "Oh, your life is so easy because you never have to clean. Like you never have to clean the house. You have other people to clean your house for you." And that would so annoy my wife because
oh,
she's like
yeah.
saying to like, "Are you kidding? I would love to be able to clean the bathroom. I would love to be able to clean the kitchen." You know what? Like to have that independence to do it myself. I would love to be able to do that.
Hmm.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Until the person lives that person, be in that person's shoes, which they can't. But if they could just live that person's life or being in their shoes in the same circumstance, wow, it would really open up their eyes. I mean, I've explained to people who in grocery stores or in businesses where they don't understand. They look at the person. Oh, okay, that person's just maybe having a little difficult with a situation. Well, there's more to it, right? I mean, you've got the person may have invisible disabilities, or it's visible, or their physical disabilities, what they used to be able to do, what they can do now. I mean, until the person actually lives their life, they don't know. Like they don't know. Like government, is always that rhetoric of, oh well, this is kind of getting close to the end of the show, everybody. So this is
Mhm.
kind of that's where we're kind of just
Yeah.
dumping a few things off here, but it's like saying, we raised the rates 5 times. Okay, government's been in power 8 years. Did you raise it 5 times? No, you didn't really. But you
Yeah.
know what? We'll just go with it. Sure. Okay, but in the meantime, cost of living's going up, right? So
Mhm.
I'm looking at it as kind of like an accessibility thing is like reality thing is how does that impact a person's life, right? So it's like okay, mobility aids maybe they've gone up in price, which they have. Everything's gone
Mhm.
up. So now how do you make it more inclusive? How do you make it better for that person to buy what they need? So
Yeah.
if they bus tickets have gone up, say they don't have a bus pass, they got to buy a bus.
Every mobility aid, it feels
Yeah,
like you're doubling it and adding a
yeah,
zero,
yeah. So
right?
to make it more inclusive
Yeah.
for that person to be more inclusive in their community or travel across wherever they got to go, how do you make it better? Well, I don't know. I mean, and so like rents go up, so you got to take it out of somewhere else, and everything else that it piles up. But then the government says, well, there's more to do.
Mhm.
And I look at it as how can you make things better by maybe listening to people, I mean organizations, people with lived experience, rather than changing a whole system, whatever it may be, whatever province it is. I mean, I've heard different stories of different provinces where people would say, well, their politicians changed something because a little handful of people told them, well, this is what needs to be done. Oh, okay. So they go ahead and they change it. And they said, no, no, no. We don't need to change the whole system. We just need to make it a little bit better and tweak it up a little bit better. In BC, they've done that a few times now in different things, right? This changed the whole thing because, well, some people have told us that it needs to be that way. No, no. How about talk to the general population? Why don't you do a poll and ask every single disabled person,
Yeah.
send out a little I don't know, a bubble sheet or something saying what needs to be changed. I can guarantee that bubble sheet will not be filled out.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't have the disabilities, but they they're a family of a person with a disability, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
all of that. So all those people are gonna care about stuff like that, right?
Well, I mean, there's
Yeah.
family members, and there are doctors, there's nurses, there's union
Hmm.
members, there's, oh my gosh, like there's so many people that are affected in that person's life around them, or maybe people that they know, or they like a family member knows a person with a disability, and maybe somehow they're interconnected with that person, or they know of that person. But I
Hmm.
guess my point is that they all vote, right? So
Yeah.
it comes across for the whole, not just BC, but across the whole country. They vote, and the politicians say, "Oh, they're disabled. They don't mean anything, guys. Just get them a job. Yeah, in order for they can be more inclusive in society. They'll be a taxpayer if they just get a job." Well, you know what? A job. I mean, day to day basis, it's a job taking care of yourself. It's
It
taking,
is.
yeah,
Totally.
and yeah, I mean,
Totally.
so many things. It's a job going out in the community of actually going and being more helpful to people in so many ways of helping, your I don't know, just people in general. You're shopping. I mean, it doesn't matter what the topic is. I guess that's just a narrative that the government always has in their mind that it has to be a certain way. Ask Tom; he'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone, one thing I wanted to end this show with, well, we were talking about accessibility wise. There's a subway. I've got a couple of subways in my community. There's so many in Victoria here. There's some that have stairs and they don't have a ramp to go down to it. And the first thing I came to my mind one day, Neil, was I thought, well, how is Neil going to get down here with no ramp? They got stairs here,
Yeah.
and there was other ones that actually are flat surface, so you could just go right in and you press a button and the door opens. I thought, wow, that's cool. So
Mhm.
yeah, there was a couple of locations that came to my mind that when it came to about accessibility wise. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there where I think the business could probably do better, just revamping and just to kind of architectural wise, it could be done. And they're older buildings, but it can be done,
Yeah,
modernized.
one thing I wanted to mention too is like anybody that's listening now or later, put in the comments what you think are accessibility wins and what you think are kind of accessibility grapes that you could
Yeah.
think could be done better.
Hmm.
So whether it's an accessibility win or an accessibility gripe, put
Yeah.
down in the comments and let us know because there's lots of things we didn't cover. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
impossible to cover everything in
Oh
an
my God.
hour, right?
Oh yeah.
We almost spent the whole hour just on ramps. So
Yeah. There's so many
so
topics.
it really is a lot to cover in an hour, but
Oh,
we
there's
did
so
our best. Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
many different topics when it comes to that. I mean, I'd love to get into another episode. I mean, somebody maybe want to come on now to the show, a guest. I put a advertisement out there inviting people to come on to the show. Like, reach out to us, send us an email, and come on to the topic of what, yeah, what benefits you or what grapes you like, what bugs you in society of your businesses or government or whatever it may be. How what can they do better to
Mhm.
better your life? I mean, or maybe a family member, a person that you know that could benefit from things to be better, or I mean, better or worse, right? I mean, and what needs to be changed? I mean, and in society, I mean, there's so many different topics, but like we can get into topics of straws, paper straws versus plastic, plastic straw.
Yeah.
I love getting to that debate. I've run into that situation a few times, and
Yeah.
or a wooden spoon versus a plastic spoon. Meanwhile, the cup is plastic. I mean,
Right.
the lid's plastic, the cup's
Yeah.
plastic. But when you got, but meanwhile, hey, or you got the plastic, like I say, a Sunday.
We're helping the earth.
I remember one time this is years ago. I remember going into a Dairy Queen years ago, and it had, you have that plastic little Sunday cup, right? And they get chintzy with their topping or whatever.
Yeah.
But imagine, so you got the plastic spoon. Now I hear that they got wooden spoons.
Yeah.
Imagine a wooden spoon.
I remember those Dixie
Ooh.
cups that used to have the wooden
Oh
spoons, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was cool.
yeah.
I like those ones.
I remember those. That
Yeah,
was yeah, but
that was
that was
cool.
kind of an exception, I think, when it came to those.
Yeah.
cups.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. But please reach out to Neil or myself to come onto the show. We'll get you scheduled in. In the month of April, we got lots of time slots open. There might be a little gap in between the shows as different guests will come on at different times. So you'll have to reach out to Neil, and he'll get you scheduled in accordingly. What works out based on the shows available.
Right now, there's not many people, but we have lots of balls in the air, so we
Yeah,
could all of a sudden get slammed, for all I know.
exactly.
Yeah.
You want to
So,
be the next guest? Reach out and
mhm.
get in the lineup, and we'll get you scheduled in. And each segment's usually no more than 1 hour. Usually, a lot of them are live broadcast. If you want to have as a pre-recorded session, we can do whatever works good for you.
Yeah.
If you like to have comments coming in while you're live on the show, yeah, I mean whatever works. We can customize the show to your needs, and don't worry, we won't bite. I mean, we try to make it all comical, a very relaxing atmosphere, as we always say.
I haven't been in a long time, Brent.
No, I know,
It's been a while. It's been a while.
I know. But please subscribe, like, and share the content that you're seeing and hearing. And stay tuned to the next episode. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.